And we're ready, and we're going to start with the introductions. Hello, folks, and welcome to Drone Therapy Season 3, Episode 29, with Mr. Kyle Warner, who should be joining us shortly. And if you didn't know already, Kyle Warner is a fairly well-known pro bike racer, and he has been approached by Skydio to use their new drone, the Skydio 2. And I kept pestering him. If anybody knows me, you know how. So I basically begged and pled with him until he said, yes, I'll show up on your show and talk for a few minutes. So hopefully he will show up. And with that, I'm going to pass it around the room. First, I will throw it to my co-host, John Cuppi. Whoop. Sorry, John.
Oh, what just happened?
How about that one? There we go. Now, John,
hey guys, it's good to be here. I can't wait till Kyle shows up to talk bikes and the Skydio. And yes, so with that, I'm going to pass it over to my good friend, Ron Brown.
Thank you very much, John. I hope everybody's doing well tonight. Hope everybody in the chat's having a good time tonight. I'm looking forward to Kyle coming on the show. We're going to talk to him about his bike racing and of course, the Skydio 2 drone, which I'm among the many many that have it on pre-order. We're waiting for our email where we can fulfill the order and get it hopefully by late November, early December. So on that note, I will swing it over to the great Ethan Mitchell.
Hey guys, I hope everybody's doing well tonight. Happy to be here. Glad to see everybody. I would like to welcome Steve to the party. It's great to have him back. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Kyle has to say about the Skydio. And with that, I will swing it over to Steve.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. Thanks guys for having me back. I'm super excited to be here. Talk to Kyle, learn all about the Skydio, and I think there's going to be some Mavic Mini talk too. That's what I'm thinking. So I guess over to you, Bill.
Very cool, and I'm glad everybody's here with us. And if you don't have everybody here with us already, invite some of your friends. So I'm going to roll into the chat real quick and say, hello, Marcus from Idaho Quadcopter. Let's see, he said, hey, gents, how are you doing? We're going to go back over here. Cardoso, Kenny, what's up? We're all going to say hi. He said hi to Ron. We're going to say hi to Art from Art Code Drone Solutions. Ron Brown, I know that guy. Chris Hope is saying hello. Chris Hope also has the Mavic Mini. He was also on Xeno Nation Monday. If you didn't get a chance, check out the replay where they're all talking about their new Xeno Nations. And everybody so far, that's what I got. And so, since we're waiting on Kyle for a moment, and you two gentlemen have your Mavic Minis, why don't we go ahead and let Ron and Steve give us some ideas of what they think so far of the Mavic Mini, beginning with Ron.
Well, I mean, there's a million videos up, and they're almost all positive, and I'm going to join right with the rest of them. It's almost not anything bad to say about it. I mean, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It actually, you don't know you're flying this teeny little drone. It feels like you're just flying a bigger Mavic, the way it handles in the sky, handles the air. I mean, it's precise, control over it. And we believe, a couple of us believe that the enhanced Wi-Fi in this little drone is better than the enhanced Wi-Fi in any other drone we've seen from any company. Better than the Mavic Air, better than the Spark, better than the Parrot. Enhanced Wi-Fi is really great in this. I mean, people say it doesn't have 4K optical avoidance. Well, it never said it had those features. So I never knock a product for not having something it never said it had or never advertised it has. But camera, and it's good. I mean, it's not Mavic 2 Pro, but it's a good camera. It's better than almost any other drone for $399. So I could ramble on all night, but I'm going to throw it over to Steve.
Yeah, well, I was really lucky to get one. Mine is still on order at DJI, and that was coming mid-December. But I got to go to an event on the weekend and picked one up. They had about 10, and I just unboxed it today, and I just took it out for my first flight. And yeah, I agree with everything Ron said. It's fantastic. I mean, really early impressions, but it flies like a dream. Like the comparison I was trying to make was like the Spark is like a bumblebee, and this thing is a hummingbird. It's just so precise, accurate, just crisp, like everything just so responsive. If this thing had 4K, nobody would buy anything else up the DJI line. Very, very good. So far, really happy.
Okay.
Hey,
So,
I did discover a little fact. It was going to be my next video when it came out. I mean, if it's fast in sport mode, you can get up to about 29 miles per hour. I mean, depending, I could get 28.9. But guess what? The Spark's faster. The Spark easily hits 32 to 35 miles per hour. In no wind or whatever. This isn't quite as fast now. That being said, the Spark's gimbal can't handle it, and you look like you're flying an old style toy drone because the 2-axis gimbal, where the gimbal in this, of course, is perfect at 3 axes, but just on pure speed, Spark's faster. So
yeah, Spark is a touch faster, but for me, if I'm flying that fast, something bad's going to happen. So
I mean, that extra speed doesn't make any difference to me either. But some people are all laser focused on how fast the drone is. Some people are laser focused on how far it can go.
Yeah.
And that's the community. I'm not knocking those people at all. That's their thing. That's their thing.
No.
But I'm going to stop talking and let Bill welcome our guest.
and yeah, I just happened to look down and I was like, oh, I can't do the drum roll because Ron's in mid-sentence. But yes, we are very grateful to have you on, sir. I called Steve in. Did Steve freeze on us? It looks like Steve froze on us, didn't he? Did Steve freeze? Well, anyway, Kyle, we're glad to have you here. We wanted to ask you some questions about biking and stuff. And now Steve's back. He's now in motion. He's no longer frozen. You were frozen a second ago, and I was actually going to introduce you as my bike guy, and his analogy was saying that Kyle and I ride bikes is like saying that I lift weights and Arnold Schwarzenegger lifts weights. So, and I didn't realize until I got to looking at your Instagram and stuff, just how many followers and stuff you actually have. And I'm very, very grateful that you came on to talk to us about bikes and, of course, the Skydio too. We know everybody's really on you hard about that one. So I will throw it to anyone else on the panel that would like to ask Kyle an introductory question.
Can you guys hear me, by the way? Just checking.
Yes, fantastic.
Okay.
Good. Your picture's great and everything. Any
All right,
questions?
cool.
Have you seen it crash?
A lot.
A lot? Did you just say a lot?
Yeah, I've been in a lot of them as well. But just like quick background, in case you guys don't know, like you said, so I've been racing pro from about 2011 or so, pro mountain bike racing, downhill on like single track trails. And I was actually like North American Enduro champion in 2014, 15, 16. Wow. So I've done a lot of racing in the past, but now I'm kind of like soft retired and doing a lot more content production stuff and having fun with it. And yeah, trying to crash less. So
okay, and I had read a little bit, maybe in a background, that when you were younger, you were basically a caregiver for your mother. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I do for a living. My wife and I actually, we have an adult family home where we care for people, and I thought that was kind of cool that you were coming on tonight. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So the question I think that Ethan was more direct to is, have you ever seen the Skydio 2 crash?
Oh, okay.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah. Just to be completely honest with you guys, so I've been using it since about early October, like maybe October 14th, I think is when I finally met those guys and got a chance to use it. I've only crashed it, I think, twice since then. One of them was flying. I was on a big single track trail, and there's a group of about 10 to 15 people in front of me. And it was using the sight track instead of the GPS track. And all of a sudden, it was following me. We went behind a tree, popped out, and there was like one of the guys wearing all red, so he's like very high contrast, and it locked onto him, tried to swing around, and then locked onto me again last second, and then crashed into a bush. But it's a full aluminum body, and then the battery is magnetically mounted as well. So basically, when it does start to impact, the battery separates from the body, and it lowers the weight and the mass of the drone a lot. So in that instance, it didn't have any damage whatsoever. The other time that I've had it crash is actually on a little bike path. I was just trying to land it, and I went to go catch it, and it saw me as an obstacle coming at it, so it started to drop down, and then when I walked towards it, it pushed into a fence that was behind me, and it cracked one of the little camera sensors.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I thought actually the one that you took up the bike trail, when it comes around that corner and it clips that little limb,
Yeah.
I thought that it crashed then, because you made an edit right there, and I was like, oh, I was theorizing. But
No.
we were wondering. We were all like, well, maybe he's under NDA and he only has to say positive things. And I'm like,
No,
well,
definitely
we'll
not.
find out. We'll find out.
Yeah,
So-
ask me whatever you guys want. They've just been really cool to me. They're not paying me or anything right now. They're just helping me kind of do some beta testing with them, and we're working on a relationship for the future. But yeah, I'm super open, and they've been really cool about letting me be open, especially with those videos. They actually had an internal memo on that one in the trees, and kind of going around saying, hey, it seems like people are actually excited that it's not just a PR video, like it's a real video. And yeah, I thought that was cool that they're excited about that. So.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the one thing that is anybody else curious? Okay, he's already told us. Is anybody's like, is it sitting nearby? I mean,
Oh yeah.
Can we like we're
Yeah.
gonna do this? Yeah. Oh, Georgia! We have to wait. Yes, all of
Skydio
us,
camera.
Yeah, it's
everybody's,
pretty cool.
everybody's drooling now.
Yeah, I'll show you guys too. Like, so this is one of the batteries right here. So a separate battery. And then, like I said, they're just magnetically mounted. So you just kind of put it on like that,
Oh, cool.
and then it's on. So it's really easy to do a swap. They actually gave me, I have 3 batteries. So basically what you can do here is like, say this one's out, just pull it out, throw it in your backpack, put another one in 2 seconds, and you're ready to go. So pretty cool like that. And then one thing I haven't shown anyone yet is just how the propellers can change out too. So you actually, they're kind of spring loaded back here, and then you just push and rotate like a half turn. And then they can pop out and they're interchangeable.
Oh,
So-
wait, that's
Yeah.
very similar to DJI in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. Been super stoked on it actually, and it's been fun. They've gone through since October. I think I've had 3 firmware updates. The biggest one was last Sunday actually, and that was like an 8 gigabyte update I had to download. So,
Wow.
and it's performing way differently since then actually. And the speed test video that I did was pre-update. So all the videos I've done so far have been pre-update. So.
Okay, we had a question from Paul Murray in the chat. Have they introduced a multi-charger yet?
They don't have one yet, but in the like kind of getting started with Skydio packet they sent me, they said that they are going to have a dual port charger. It's like a quick charger. Currently, it really kind of sucks right now, but currently I have this little guy, just a USB-C cable, and then the Skydio is here. Basically, this goes into the wall like normal, and then this just plugs into the Skydio. And then once that's in, that's my only way of charging right now. But they will have a charger that will accept 2 batteries at once coming soon. So.
Kyle, how much flight time are you getting per battery?
It really depends a lot on how fast I'm going. So because if you're going fast, then you have more velocity behind the drone, more motor speed, and basically it drains battery faster. But on anything like fast, I'm getting around like 17 minutes-ish, 17 to 19. And then if I'm just doing like more scenic, like trying to get some cool shots, like pedaling slowly 8 miles an hour, then I can get up to 23 minutes. So anywhere kind of like they're claiming 24 minutes. And I think that's pretty accurate, especially because the batteries that they actually sent me were used. So I don't know how many charge cycles these have. One of them's pretty beat up. So they've been through some stuff before they got to me. So
Interesting.
So I actually have a question about, since we're on about batteries, I thought about this. Most of us, when we fly our drones, we're looking at the controller, we're looking at the app, we're checking our battery usage. With this thing, how does that work? Because you're on the bike. I guess there's a wand, but you know.
Yeah, I have the beacon right here actually. So yeah, this
is that
is
where you
the
check
little,
your battery?
Yeah, so it'll actually show. I'm working on a video right now to post tomorrow that'll have like all this info on it, but the wind kind of screwed up some of my audio. But I have the beacon right here, and basically it has a speaker kind of located in the back right here. Mm-hmm. Once you get down to about, I think it's 10 to 12% battery, it makes a loud audible beep and says landing in 2 minutes.
Okay.
And then so you can kind of like ignore that message and just keep going as long as you want, or it'll try to land with a minute and a half. So it has some time to like find a safe spot to land and then hit the ground.
Gotcha. Okay.
Kyle, Paul Murray had a question, chat. He said, how long to charge the batteries?
Less than 1 hour from full dead to full charge.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Wow,
That's awesome.
that's pretty good there.
Yeah, it's
Good.
crazy. So like I can basically do, I used all 3 batteries yesterday, got home at 7 p.m. and had them all charged by 10 p.m. So like all 3 of them, and that's not, because I don't have a way to tell if they're charged unless you just do this. So it'll kind of have this indicator bar. So I just have to keep checking on it. So I think it's about 15 minutes to an hour, but
Wow. And you mentioned the wind before about you have wind noise today, which all of us, creators always get that wind noise in the field. But how does the Skydio handle winds? I'm sure out in some of those trails where you are on the bike, you probably have encountered some very windy days out there.
Yeah, totally. So it handles wind up to 20 miles an hour really well. Basically, the top speed on the drone is theoretically 36 miles an hour, and that's kind of what I've seen in practice too. If you're hitting, say I'm going 16 miles an hour, and then there's a 20 mile an hour headwind, then it's effectively flying at 36 miles an hour. So it drains the battery really fast, but it does stay stable. And as long as you don't exceed that, 36 mile an hour total, then it can kind of hang with you pretty well.
Good answer. Thank you.
Kyle, I had a question about like as far as like return to home goes. Obviously, this drone is geared towards like active tracking.
Yeah.
If it gets really low on battery and it wants to land, will it like try to return to its home point where it started, or will it like come to like where you are, where the GPS is? So
you have the option to select either or. So you can select basically come to phone, or you can select come to home, and you can have a map, like a Google Maps app, and you basically set a pin like home point, and then it can just go back to that home place. There's actually a feature called up and over as well. So if it loses you, it can fly up vertically and then over, so it doesn't have to avoid any obstacles on the way. Nice. But I haven't had to use that yet. The closest thing I've had is basically I got a message saying low battery, and then I ignored it, and then a minute later it said landing now. And so then I just saw it kind of drop down, and I had to go find it. So I basically sent them a big email and saying, hey, we need to have some sort of like find feature for once it is on the ground. Because the only thing you can do is basically hope that you still have visual, like a visual from the app of where you just landed. So you're kind of like, oh man, you need almost like a little GPS saying find your drone. But sometimes that's kind of difficult. But they're working on stuff like that. So
very cool.
Yeah, I'll try to connect on here too, so you guys can kind of see what the app looks like a little bit. So I have the drone on right now, and then I'll show you what that home feature is like as well. So here's the drone. Let's see. Connecting.
We have an iPhone or an Android?
I have an iPhone, and it's an iPhone 8 Plus. I actually tried it with an iPhone SE, which is basically like an iPhone 5. And I didn't realize that the Wi-Fi capability or the Wi-Fi antenna in the 8 is so much better that the app didn't function nearly as well on this with the lower quality phone. So yeah, that was really interesting actually. Let's see if I can figure this out. So I know a lot of people have been asking about settings as well. So here's kind of a screen on the app. These are the adjustments you have available to you. So you have 1080p or 4K, and then in 1080 it does 24, 30, 60, or 120 FPS, and in 4K it does 24, 48, or 60. Oh, sorry, 24, 30, 48, or 60.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, really wow.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask away. I'll try to be as honest as I can be. So.
Do you have?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Bill. No, go ahead.
The only thing I wanted to ask him was, do you know anything about the production schedule at the plant?
I don't at the moment, but I know that So I don't know if I'm supposed to say this really, but the guys at Skydio told me that they actually are operating on. They have a military contract which is helping fund a lot of their development. So they have over 100 employees at Skydio at the moment. So they're a bigger company than they seem. So I think that they're trying to ramp production pretty quickly, but they're focused on a lot of things at once, it seems. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I think they're developing the drones a lot for like search and rescue missions, basically making it easier for having a non-pro drone pilot to go out and start surveying areas. They've been doing a lot of work with construction management as well, too. So they have, I don't know if you have seen that little home dock box, but it's like a lock box. And you can set it on a timer. So every day at 6 a.m., the drone goes out, flies a circle around your construction site and lands. So they're working on a lot of cool stuff, kind of outside of the recreation space too.
Oh yeah, I could see if they made a search and rescue model with infrared on it that could actually fly at night and have the obstacle avoidance work at night, that would be a game changer for fire departments.
For sure. I think it could help a lot of people. And like where I live in Boise, Idaho, we actually had a kid from my girlfriend's workplace. He was out on a hike last winter and fell down into a ravine. And, they spent days and days and days trying to find him. And they didn't really have access to do stuff like this. Like mass scale, you could get 5 or 6 people with these that don't exactly know how to pilot, and they can still go survey. So I think it would have helped in cases like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know in my area, there's been a few of the fire departments and police departments have approached me asking about like the infrared capabilities of the Mavic Dual and the Parrot's thermal. But the biggest problem is usually when they're going to use these features is going to be at night where they can't see.
Yeah.
So and then flying at night, even for a regular pilot, you have to know the area very well so you don't run into anything.
Totally.
So if they could come up with a system that would do the same features at night, that would be huge.
Well, can I piggyback on that question? Kyle, have you tried this drone? Using, I'm not saying at night, but like at dusk when the light's going away on you, does it still track you, or is it having problems once the sun starts to go down a little bit?
Yeah, I actually used it last night. I did a video that I'm going to try to post, just a full battery flight. So basically launch to land. It was like about an 18-minute flight all around the bike park, and it was at sunset. So the sun's going down. When I go on the backside of the hill, it's pretty dark actually, and the drone still does really well in that setting. If you try to launch it when it's darker out, it'll tell you it's too dark to fly right now. So basically that's the only thing I've seen is like a message saying it's too dark to fly. But once it's in the air, it doesn't seem to give that message. Like if you were to fly through a shaded spot or something.
John, did you still have a question? Wasn't trying to interrupt.
Yeah,
John.
yeah. Actually, I'll make it very simple. Does the Skydio have any geofencing?
Not that I've found, but I have a beta version, so I don't know what that's going to look like. But I live pretty close to an airport, and I haven't found any geofencing at all. So
right. Oh, okay. Thanks for the info, because it's an interesting question, right? Because our DJI drones, if we try to fly into an authorization zone, they're just going to stop. So imagine you're driving along. I'm just trying to think how are they gonna exactly implement that?
Yeah, totally. And one thing I will say too is I see a lot of questions coming in from people, and like totally valid question. I see a lot of that stuff that the guys are well aware of and they're working on, but they just haven't gotten a chance to implement yet. But I think that's part of the reason that they're like pushing so hard for production right now and trying to really tidy up these little things. But,
wait. Mike Rush has something. He says, we need to ask you about your new bike. It's killer.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, just the sponsor that I ride for this year is actually Rossignol Bikes. So they're like the ski company, Rossi. And they've been really cool and helping me out this year. So it's been fun having them around.
Well, that's super cool. Ethan, back to you. Go ahead and fire back with your questions.
I was just going to ask, in the app, currently as you have it, is there any way to turn the obstacle avoidance cameras off?
No, I haven't found that yet. So I don't think there's a way to turn that off. But with that being said, I don't know if that's a feature they're going to have in the future for using the controller,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because using the phone app, I don't think you would really have the dexterity to like pilot it through tight areas anyways. But with the controller, I definitely think you would. And being able to turn the obstacle avoidance off or minimizing it would be a good thing.
So Kyle, I have a couple questions. When you've got that thing fully autonomous chasing you down, what was that, trail number 4, I think you said it was, in Boise there. Is it like, and you're shooting that 4K, that's fully automatic?
Yeah. So like, basically once the drone goes up in the air, all I do is I launch it. And that was a full beacon flight, so no phone app involved at all, just with the beacon, turn it on, connected, flew it. And then basically you can just, select different settings on the beacon. But as soon as it goes in the air, like 1 inch off the ground, it starts recording, and it doesn't stop recording footage until you land it.
Okay, so you can tell it like you want to shoot 4K, or 1080, or
yeah, exactly. Okay. Not on the beacon, but on the phone app before you can do that, and then you can fly with the beacon if you'd like.
Okay.
I prefer using only the beacon because then if you have the phone app and the beacon, it seems like it likes to jump around from site-based tracking to GPS-based tracking back and forth.
Yeah.
With just the beacon, it seems like it really just holds on to GPS and it works better in my experience.
Cool. And I was seeing that you were like changing the position, so you had a back left or front in front of you and stuff. Can you also set the distance, like how close?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys can see this, but basically on this beacon here, there's these plus and minus buttons here.
Okay.
And so the plus and minus, that's the minus here, and then plus here. That's your range adjustment. So you can basically set it further or closer. And cool. On the remote, it says 15 feet is the minimum, and then 50 feet is the maximum. But I've had it fall from more than 50 feet back. But that's kind of just the furthest base setting you can start at.
Cool.
Nice. Hey, we have Curtis Dart in the house with us tonight, and Curtis was asking, does it have waypoints?
Sorry, what was that?
Curtis was asking if the drone, he said he's not a fan of waypoints, but does the Skydio drone have waypoints where you can set up in advance of flying? You can set up to fly to point A to point B to point C and then come back again?
Yeah, it does. They call it cable mode, and you can do that. And basically, once you're in cable mode, you can actually adjust the speed as well. So once it starts flying, then you just click. It starts at 3 miles an hour, and then you can go all the way up to 20 miles an hour in that cable mode. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to jump out there. My wife and I heard our daughter at the same time, and we both went.
No worries.
Let's see. Did you all see the question that Curtis asked a moment ago?
We just reviewed that, and
okay,
they call it cable cam on the Skydio, but it can do some version of waypoints. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool. I'm glad everybody caught back up. Let's see. Oh yes, and of course, Grumpy Vlogger. As you can see, Lloyd made the comment about the Skydio drone. It does. I swear, it does look like the Hunter Killer from Terminator, man. You know, so you're sitting here, everybody's talking AI and all this, and the thing about it is he's only crashed it twice. And okay, Ron Brown, I want to bring this up. We have another gentleman. We have another gentleman in the chat. Our friend Idaho quadcopter Marcus Crawford, who lives in Idaho himself.
Yeah.
He was like, yes, he's like, Kyle's kind of a local celebrity here. Like, okay, so then you know him. And our friend Ron Brown here, they also have a show that they do on Monday nights called Xeno Nation. And I had told them, and I think I might have voiced to you in a couple emails, that there was all kinds of people waiting in line to try to get you on their live streams. So I'm sure that Ron will be sending you an email in the very near future. Also, the Grumpy Vlogger, Lloyd, who was talking about the Skynet drone, he loved it. He also does a show, and he said he was envious about having you on. And I'm sure he'll probably send you an email as well about getting him on.
Cool.
So,
well, nobody's special. I'm just having fun having this thing. And it's been cool to kind of start building out a little bit more of a community just from having the opportunity to use this thing. So it's been really fun.
Well, I'm just, like I said, I'm glad that I actually pestered you long enough to get you to come on. I want to make sure that you are more than welcome to come on at any future date, even if it's just to talk about bicycles, because I'm happy to have you on and stuff. Any more questions, gentlemen? Have we seen anything in the chat?
Bill, would you read RC Fun Diversion's question in chat? It's about like 6 questions back.
6 questions back. Is it the Mavic Air Killer? What is this one?
Yeah, read that one.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
No, you go right ahead. Because if your opinion is the one it is, you've flown it. I don't know.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of filming with other drones, not personally flying them, but being filmed and creating videos and content with them. To be honest with you, I think that this drone is basically one step below the Mavic 2 in image quality, but it's also $999 retail, whereas the Mavic 2 is, I think, $1,400-ish. And so I think that it's the way I keep explaining this.
1,700-ish.
Is it 1,700?
Well, yeah, with the tariffs, it was $1,499.
Okay, another all-American drone here, folks.
Yeah, so I mean,
tariffs.
This thing's, in that case, it's $800 cheaper, and the image quality is better than the old Mavic Pro, but it's not quite as good as the Mavic 2. But I do think it is a little bit higher quality than like the Mini and the Air.
The Air. And the spark he mentioned. Yeah, I kind of agree with Kyle. I mean, I think he said will be a killer for the air, the spark, and the mini. And yeah, I think it's going to kill all of them. I mean, of course, this guy at $400 is hard to kill.
Yeah,
$400, but
that mini to me is pretty awesome because you can put it in your backpack or do whatever with it. This thing is cumbersome, and I hear a lot of people saying, they need to do a folding version, and I fully agree. I think that what they have problem with is, you have a sensor. So there's a camera here, there's one here, there's one here, and then there's one here, 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 plus your first camera. So you have 7 cameras on here, and I think that with all the processing and kind of like hardware in there, it's hard for them to make it folding. But in the future, hopefully that'll be a little bit easier. Because for me, I think this is cumbersome, but the amount of content I'm able to produce on my own is way more than what I would have with like a mini, even though I could bring it more places, but I can get more content with this, even if I have to carry a bigger backpack or something.
Kyle, while we're talking about that, what is your what is your procedure to get out into the field? You're out obviously in these trails at the remote location. I guess you drive to some point, get your bike out of your truck, your car, and get to these locations. Okay, at that point, what is the Skydio? Is that in a backpack? Are you just carrying it by hand?
Let me grab my pack. I'll show you guys. Hold on 1 second. So this is basically the case that they gave me. So this case, opens up right here, and then in here I basically can fit 2 batteries. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where my camera goes. So you can fit 2 batteries in here, plus the drone. And so usually I have this folded up and stuffed inside my backpack.
Okay.
In here.
Oh, boy.
And just kind of throw that in there. So it's a pretty big backpack. But like I said, I bring all 3 batteries with me every time, plus the drone, plus the beacon, plus my phone, plus my GoPro, plus all my tools. Mm-hmm. So wow. I have a lot of stuff going on in there. But I've done a 2-hour ride with this pack. So it's totally doable. It's not ideal, but for the amount of content I'm able to get, it's pretty awesome.
Okay, so quickly, Curtis Dart asked another question. He was saying, in your personal opinion, what do you think its Achilles heel is? And you're saying it's size and the fact that it won't fold, or what else?
Yeah, I would say that for most people, you're going to want to be able to bring this places with you to do action sports, right? Like it's pretty rare to be able to do action sport walking distance from the car. So the fact that this doesn't fold into a compact design is kind of a setback, but I think over time it will get better and they'll be able to minimize that. But like I said, with all the stuff that's going on inside here, I think there's just a lot of hardware that they're having to, like processors and everything going on inside, that they can't make it folding yet. Yeah. Another thing I thought was interesting is it's an aluminum body. So it looks plastic, but it's an aluminum body. And I think they do that for heat sinking. So it stays really cool. It doesn't ever overheat or anything on me, which has been really nice.
Yeah, I'm assuming they didn't make it folding the first, this iteration, because it probably would have doubled the price and put them even further back in production, what I'm anticipating.
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing I keep trying to tell people is people are like, oh, it's not as good as a Mavic 2 or whatever, and you're like, yeah, but it's $800 cheaper. It's like, right. It's not supposed to be. Like the way I keep telling people about this thing is I feel like it's the GoPro of cameras, and then like the Mavic 2 is like a DSLR. So it's like, this is the GoPro where you bring it everywhere. You don't need to be skilled. You can get cool content. It's not going to be quite as professional, but the amount of content is going to be awesome. And then like a Mavic 2 doing real estate photography and stuff is like slightly higher quality. So in that sense, you'd probably use that. I could see owning both of those for sure, like owning a Skydio 2 and a Mavic 2.
Or possibly owning a Mavic Mini and a Spark. They complement each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Kyle, I think the big thing, the difference between the 2 drones is, the Mavic 2 is a pro's a step up on the camera, and it has APAS, and it can avoid objects very well too, but it can't avoid them at speed. Like the Skydio can. You could go down the side of that mountain, and I don't know how fast you go, but it's and I guarantee if you took the Mavic 2 with you, it would lose you quickly or whatever. It may not hit anything, it may not crash, but it's also going to lose you pretty quickly on the side of that mountain, where the Skydio does a good job of keeping up with you. Is that correct?
Yeah, it keeps up with me really well. And the only time I ever do lose it is basically when it gets into a situation where like I'm going really fast, maybe 25, 30 miles an hour, and then I take a switchback and basically it starts to. If I've flown with the controller.
Oh,
I
that's a
have the
good one.
controller
I'll
here.
roll that one.
He actually did it in the video. Remember, guys?
Yeah, I got the controller right here too.
Yes, there we go. There it is. The Parrot
Yeah.
controller.
Yeah,
Fair
it's
enough.
just Parrot controller. I like on the video I'm gonna post tomorrow. I do basically it's right now it's at 25 minutes long, and it basically is all of the special skills, all the follow modes, the beacon, everything the beacon shows, the controller, all the controller functions, flying with all that. So hopefully you guys will be able to see that tomorrow. But overall, flying it with the controller is really nice because it's so much more reactive. Flying it with the phone app is very sluggish, and so it just kind of like lugs around. It's really slow. But flying it with the controller, it's like super fast. It takes me a minute to get into my head, like, oh shoot, I got to be on the ball with this now. So it's cool. And then just so you guys, if you're wondering, basically on the controller here, the way it's set up now is this is your gimbal tilt, so you can fly up and adjust where the gimbal's looking. This one is a speed boost button, so you can basically get like a 15-mile-an-hour speed boost in whatever direction you're flying. And then this one right now used to be the exposure compensation, but now it's just a height, like go up or down vertically based off the last update. And then this is a shutter button, so you can start and stop recording, or you can take photos. And then on the front here, you have your home button, which is for if you set that home point, you can press this and the drone will fly up and over to the home point. Or you can do the launch and land, which is a smaller button here.
So it's interesting that even says Parrot right on it.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't think it will, production, but this is what they're using.
Can you use like a tablet, like an iPad Air or something with it?
I don't know. So this is about as far as it extends.
Oh, that's how far it stretches.
Yeah, but no, you have to get a third-party adapter to use a tablet on the.
You might get away with iPad Mini. It's I don't know. It's hard
I
to
think
tell.
people tried it. I don't think it worked.
So
Might be
with my,
tight.
I have an iPhone 8 Plus with a big OtterBox case on it, and it doesn't quite fit in there.
Oh, wow.
So,
Oh,
I have-
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, then no way.
yeah, but if you had an adapter, I'm sure it'd work no problem as long as you're running iOS. So
And I know Parrot even makes tablet adapters themselves, and there's plenty of third-party ones available on places like Amazon, eBay, if you want to use a tablet on the Parrot controller. So
cool. That's good to know. Yeah, and I think honestly, like one thing that I'm hoping will come out in the future will be like a smart controller with a higher basically Wi-Fi signal so that you can get better sight. Because when I'm flying fast, like if I'm using the speed boost mode or anything, there's a lot of latency in what you're seeing and what is coming through on the screen. So I think that over time, with different updates and whatnot, it'll get better. But depending on what phone I have hooked up to this, it's crazy how much different the data transfer is.
Kyle, the question just popped up, and it's the question that's probably the most, I thought would be the most asked question on the show after the crash one is Mikey B, the drone ranger, says, what kind of range do you get with a controller?
So they asked me not to test it yet because it's all beta, but I've tried to test it. I tested it. But it goes 2.4 miles or 4 kilometers. So that's what they're shooting for. They're not that's kind of what it says in the handbook that I have as well. 2.4 miles or 4 kilometers. But they asked me not to test it on film just in case something did happen because it's not totally dialed in yet on this beta version yet.
Understood. Thank you.
But yeah, but 4
Good info.
kilometers is what they're shooting for. Yeah.
The one thing that kind of unnerved me a little bit, I guess, was like when you were using the beacon and it would kind of seem like to lose you for a second and would stall and it would like accelerate at this unbelievable rate trying to find you. And like, and I was like, I hope there's nothing that just kind of pops up in its path in the meantime.
Yeah,
Because of the way
totally.
maybe if they could, I don't know, if it could find a way to kind of track you at a little more distance and not get so.
Yeah.
The way it zips around worries me.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people keep saying, "Oh, why don't you do this, or this with viewpoints?" And honestly, I'm still learning it so much, and I think that one thing I need to do more of is fly it slightly further away, and then in the 4K in post production crop in a bit to like get that extra stabilization because people are like, "Oh, it loses you in different parts of the frame," and that could totally be my operator error of not realizing like if I fly a little bit further away, it has an easier time following me, and then I could crop in slightly. So there's a few things I'm still learning for sure, and I'm by no means a pro. Like I'm totally learning all this stuff as I go. So
I'm almost wondering if so there's a feature on Paradanafi that if you're doing any kind of a tracking, you can actually frame the tracking point. So if you're tracking a car, you can make the framing so the car stays in the bottom right third or the top right third or whatever. I wonder if they would bring that kind of feature to this drone as well, because it seems like they've got a pretty decent relationship with Parrot as they're as they're buying their controllers for them.
Yeah, for sure. I think that would be awesome in the future to have that, and especially on the phone app, it'd be really easy. Because one thing that's funny on the app too is like if you're just standing there and you have the app and what the drone is seeing, if you just double tap anywhere on the screen, the drone will go there. So like I think having the ability to just select an area where you want the focal point to be is definitely something that is doable.
Right.
Oh yeah, especially I can see us all going, watch this. Watch this.
You can basically like fly like Hansel and Gretel with breadcrumbs, like just tap around and go over.
Obviously, I do remember you mentioned something in an email that if possibly you would have a meeting around the bottom of the hour. I didn't know if you needed to take off anytime soon. I don't want to tie you down.
I'm in Mountain Time, so it's 7:11 right now, but I was going to try to get out of here by about 7:30, so I could still hang out for a few more minutes.
Hey, that's perfect. That's perfectly great with us, because that's about time my phone will start ringing with drive time.
Marcus has a question in chat.
Which one is it? Which one?
How well do the magnets hold the battery on? Is there any fear of the battery coming loose in flight? And a lot of people do have that question.
No, like it's on there. It's on there. Like it's solid. And what's funny too is one thing I've noticed is basically on a longer flight, when you pull this thing down, the battery will be a little bit cooler to the touch than the drone. And then for whatever reason, it creates like extra stick, like almost electromagnetism on the battery to the drone. So it's like you have to like pull to get it off. But I mean, it's on there. It's not coming off for sure. So I know someone was like,
crash, it never fell off.
It did the one time when it went around the corner and saw the guy and kind of got confused. And when it basically like tomahawked into a bush like that. And when it hit, the battery did just pop off because it kind of impacted here. But it didn't damage the battery or anything. And this is kind of what the battery looks like on the bottom. So that's where it connects to the drone. So that's where the power supply goes. And then it just kind of snaps in. So it's pretty solid though.
Oh, no, there's no doubt about that, because even DJI drones spit the batteries out. John.
Yeah, I had a quick question now looking at it. The 2 props down, 2 props up. How does that impact your launch process? Because when I saw that it's got 2 props, in the front, right? Down, I'm thinking, that's going to be a pain to launch. So tell me about that.
Yeah, it is. I have a dent on one of the front props for my fingernail. So it's definitely... It's a pain to launch sometimes, but basically they watched one of my videos and said, hey, can you please just make sure if you're going to catch it or launch it, you always do it from behind, because the props are high on the back and then in the front they're low. But like if you just catch it from the back, you have plenty of clearance and it's not really too bad. But when I launch it, I basically just hold it straight like this from the back and then it'll just fly off. So it's not a big deal. But
okay, so typically you hand launch it is what you're saying.
Yeah, I like to, and it always seems to take off not completely vertically, but it takes off maybe at I would say like a 70-degree angle forward and away from me. So it always wants to drop these props first and then take off like that. So I don't feel like it's ever going to come back and get me or anything. But
gotcha. Okay.
Also,
definitely an interesting design choice for sure. I wonder why they did that exactly.
It's for the cameras.
Yeah.
Is that why?
Yeah, the top cameras that look up are on top of the front arms.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Okay. So the props aren't in the way.
And I think I want to say that they're all 270-degree cameras, but I could be wrong on that. So it's like it has full field of view. The one thing I wanted to touch on as well is inside here, I'll grab my other SD card, but this is basically the inside of the compartment here. And so you have 2 SD card slots. Sorry.
True.
So there's 2 in here. This one right here is for the logs, the data logging, and then this one here is for the video. So what's crazy is I'm using 128 gig cards, and the data logging fills up almost twice as fast as the video.
What?
Yeah. So it's basically rendering, 3D environment at all times when you're flying. So it actually fills up the data log card faster than the video card.
Now, is that just on
Wow.
your pre-production model, or will the production models have that as well?
I'm not 100% positive, but I don't think that there's going to be, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't want to answer if I don't know for sure. But all I do know is that most of the ones that I've been seeing, they've been running a 248 gig in the log side and then a 128 or whatever that is, 256 and 128. So put a bigger one in the log side and then you don't have to worry about it. But
Parson
Okay.
Peck asked a very interesting question. He says, is there any footage from any of those vision sensors? And now it makes me wonder if it's on that, if it's on that other card, just in a format that maybe we can't see.
yeah, so if I plug the log card into my computer, it pops out a .lrv file, I think is what it is, or a log, basically a log reader. And I think it does have footage, but it's like it's modeling footage. It's not something you can watch. It's just all code.
Right.
But they have on their website, they have a few demonstrations where it shows the drone kind of like create a 3D space around it and navigate. And I think that's what they're able to view this from.
Is the battery rubberized for protection during the landing? Like, is there a coating on it?
Yeah, on the bottom there is. So you can barely see. It's really thin, but on the very bottom here is rubber. And another thing I was going to say that they haven't announced yet is they're actually working on a mode that it'll be able to identify the logo here and then land directly on the case. So
talk about precision landing.
Yeah, so basically you'd have it just come down and land there and spot. So
Because now this correct when you can't catch it, it lands on the battery. Right?
sorry, what was that?
When you don't catch it, it'll land on the battery.
When you were hand catching, it was you were grabbing the battery.
Yeah, exactly, because it sticks out so much further than the drone. So like, if you didn't have the battery there, that would be nervous to hand catch it, but just having the extra few inches from the batteries makes it a lot easier.
Thank you.
I'm sure somebody will make an aftermarket part to make it a little easier.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve's got something.
Yeah, finally. So Kyle, can you fly it with just the beacon, or do you have to have your phone at some point?
No, you can fly it with just the beacon.
Cool. So you can start the whole process, launch, take off, come back with the beacon.
Yeah. Here, I'll show you guys 1 second. So this is on. Basically, I just powered it on. Once it's solid blue, then you're good. And then here's the beacon. So then once this is on, I'll show you guys, but it'll basically start to try to connect and then sync satellites. So it shows the beacon here. And then the drone is basically on now because the gimbal's working. So you can see that. And then it's trying to sync the GPS right now. I'm inside, so I don't know if it'll be able to do so.
Super cool.
Yeah.
And then I think you said earlier too that if it starts to get low on battery, it'll warn you on the beacon.
Sorry, what was that?
So I think you said earlier that when it starts to get low on battery, it'll warn you, like the beacon.
Yeah,
you get a warning on your beacon.
Yeah, it has basically an audible beep. So, sorry, I was watching the thread on who has the noise going on.
Okay, yeah, he was looking at the private chat. Was like, who is it? My wife is talking to my grandson. Okay, he's excited because Friday is our son's birthday. We're gonna go drive down there and see them. And everybody was talking about my T-shirt earlier. I got this from the Snohomish County Down Syndrome Society's summer festival that a lot of you tried to donate to, but something was wrong with the link. So that's where this shirt came from, and then that's part of why I'm wearing it tonight. So back to the show. Steve, it's kind of hit and miss with us. You just kind of got to jump in and ask your question and jump back out real fast. So anything else?
Steve, sorry about that. But basically what I was saying is once the battery gets low, like I said, it makes a loud audible beep, and it'll actually provide you with a message, and it'll say you need to land. Also, if it loses sight of you, it'll do a loud beep as well, and it'll tell you it lost sight, or it'll send a different message. Then you can kind of address what's going on just off the beacon. So you don't even, I actually, like I said, prefer not pulling my phone out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Kyle, what means of control do you find you use the most in your daily operations of the Skydio?
Yeah, just this thing. Basically, like I would say that I use this nine out of 10 times. So I think it works better. I think that it almost should come, with this, immediately because it's such a useful tool. I think if you're using just the phone app, then it's going to be a lot less like action sport oriented or slower stuff. But I think that if you're going to do anything that's over 10, 15 miles an hour, then the beacon's a must have for sure.
And we talked about the range before, and you were probably referring to the controller range. What's the range like with the beacon?
I could look really quick. If you give me 1 second, I have a document on here. Hold on 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have the specs, when you're out in the field, do you feel like you have good range with the beacon?
Yeah, I haven't really had an issue with it yet. I think that they said that the beacon is 1 kilometer, I want to say.
Which is great for a beacon.
Yeah, I think it's 1 kilometer on the beacon and then 4 on the controller, and then your phone is several hundred feet.
Right. Oh, we got a drone. We got a drone on set. Is that the Skydio Mini, Bill?
So Kyle, with the beacon, can you also adjust like video settings and stuff like that?
No, you can't at the moment. One thing that you can do though is basically finally sync the GPS because I've been inside. But when it's ready to fly, you just hold this down, and then the drone will take off and start going. Then you can kind of change all the settings. You have this stop button here at the bottom, that square. Yep. So that'll put it into hover mode, and then from there you can direct it into manual steer mode, and it has very limited steering on this, so you can like rotate left or right, and then push to go forward, and then you have your height. So, but yeah, you can't change settings on this, but yeah, that's only on the phone app.
I think you kind of said it earlier that if you launch it with the beacon, it starts shooting video right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically it would be the last settings you had that you did with the app on your phone or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of thing? Okay, cool.
Yeah. One other thing that I was going to say that's kind of cool is if you do use your phone and you allow it to access your microphone, as soon as the drone starts flying, it creates a audio file as well. So then you can sync them and have audio from your phone microphone that you can overlay on the video. But if you use the beacon, it doesn't have that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Kyle, you talked about the beacon and real interesting. So you would when somebody orders a Skydio, you would recommend that they order the beacon.
Yeah, for sure.
What, 150?
Yeah, I would say 100% order the beacon. I know originally they were shooting for a $17.99 retail price point, and then they lowered it down to that $9.99, and then they made these optional accessories, which I think is cool because, like I personally probably wouldn't ever use this controller. I'm going to be a guy that's going to always just use the beacon or my phone app. So having that choice and saving, $100 something is cool. But yeah, if you're going to buy this, I'd definitely get a beacon at least.
Nice.
Okay, here was a good question. Do you have to set it to use either device, or does one override the other?
So once you're on the phone app, basically what I like to do, you do the phone app and then you launch the drone or whatever. If you connect the beacon, you can actually connect the beacon directly to your phone's Wi-Fi. So you connect those, it has its own password on here and its own network on the beacon. Then that way you have both. So basically you can have all the controls of the phone, but you have the range of the beacon. So that's a nice combo. If you do open up the controller, then it overrides everything, and you need to connect your phone to the controller so that you can use the app. Otherwise, it won't fly. If you have this controller arm open and it's paired to your drone, the only thing you can do is fly the controller. So it's kind of like it has to all kind of work together a little bit.
So is it possible? Did I misunderstand? Or are you saying it's possible to fly the drone without using the app? You could just use the drone and the controller. Is that possible?
You can use the drone and the beacon without an app at all. To fly with the controller, I believe you do need the app open to launch the drone.
Okay.
From that point.
Okay, so that's an interesting side note.
Yeah, because otherwise I don't think you would have a display showing you kind of what the drone's seeing. So it'd be, you could totally fly it like that, but it'd be a little bit more difficult.
Well, yeah, some of us kind of.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ron. I couldn't hear what you were saying there.
I was going to say the only other previous drone I'm aware of that came with like an optional beacon device was the Unique. What was the big Unique drone? You could get a beacon and fly that big Unique, the one with the six legs on it.
Yeah, I don't remember
the back in the old days of drones. The Air Hog had a beacon.
Oh, really?
Anybody remembers the Air Hog? That was like the original tracker. That was like the original tracker drone that would track like bikes and stuff, and you wore a beacon.
Interesting.
Very cool. Very cool.
Oh, and one other thing too that I wanted to say that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about is when you have the phone app and say I'm with a group of friends, like we're all just standing in a parking lot or something, right? I can have the phone in my pocket and select my friend, and the drone can follow him. So if we left from the parking lot together, I could have my phone in my pocket. He could take off. I could select him and follow him without having to have my phone.
Wow.
That's nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So the person that you're following doesn't have to have any hardware on them at all. It's all site based if you're using the phone app. So that's been pretty cool.
Here you go, Ron. As Mikey B pointed out, the Typhoon H.
The Typhoon H,
big bird. Yeah, it was called the Wand, wasn't it?
The Wand. Yeah, they called it a Wand, I believe.
Yes, I believe it was called the Wand. And weren't you just thinking it was Brian from True Drone Reviews discovered that you don't need to have the app running? You can actually fly the Mavic Mini with just the controller. Is that true?
That's correct. Which you can with all DJI, all the whole Mavic series and Spark. You can all fly with just the controller.
Yep.
Okay, I can see it's getting close to time for Kyle to need to take off here. Anybody got any quick questions before he needs to take off? Or would you like to just stick around even longer and just chew on your ear for more Skydio information?
I will say that tomorrow, first thing I'm going to do is actually just try to do this without using the app at all and just use the radio frequency and see if I can get it to operate without anything. Because you do have a launch land button here. Like I said, I haven't experienced that yet, but I haven't tried just using that yet. But I have tried opening this and having the phone open, and it says you must connect them together. So I'll try and let you guys know because there is a possibility that it work, but I haven't personally tried that yet. So
okay,
I have a quick question.
All right, go Steve.
Quick non-drone question, Kyle. You got any favorite mountain biking spots in Canada?
Yeah, I've been to Whistler quite a few times.
Yeah, like it up there?
Yeah, it's beautiful for sure.
Cool.
My girlfriend and I went to Ritalik this year and did some helicopter shuttles.
Oh, in Nelson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I heard that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, full-size drone.
Where's some of the places you ride at, Steve?
I've ridden Whistler before. A lot of Fernie, British Columbia, Rosslyn, British Columbia. Those are good spots. And even there's good riding just west of Calgary here. So yeah.
There's an excellent back to the drone subject question. If the drone is tracking the beacon, could you use the RC to control the gimbal?
That's a really good question, and I haven't experimented with that yet. I think that there might be a way to do that though, because on the bottom of the beacon there's a USB-C port, and then there's the USB-C port here, and kind of everything kind of plays with that USB-C port connection. So on some of these questions, I honestly don't know. And I will, if you guys feel up to it, like sending me these questions, if you could, copy and paste it, and then I'll send that to the Skydio guys tomorrow and see if I can get more detailed answers.
Hey, that's great. There's another one. I think he's just asking if you have like a cable to direct connect for your tablet or phone. Yeah. Or do you connect through Wi-Fi?
No, they sent me this cable yesterday, actually. So basically, all it is a Lightning to USB-C that I have for my iPhone, and then you just go USB-C here, and then Lightning to your phone. So that's what it means when I say it needs to connect when you have the app. So if I have this open, I put my phone on, and I have the app running, it pops a message up and says, connect controller to phone. And that means via the cable. So
one more question. Is there an option to turn the lights on and off?
I haven't found one yet.
Okay, and another question I wanted to ask real quick is, do we get the Kyle Warner discount on peripherals for future orders from Skydio? You need to get them to give you a code, man.
Yeah,
for all
Kyle
this
Warner
free
10.
Yes, exactly. There needs to be a Kyle Warner code.
Seriously, if you can just copy and paste some of the questions from tonight, and if you want to add anything else in, I'll send it to the guy that's been helping me a lot, and then I'll also try to get a code and see if we can do that. I don't see why not. I feel like, a lot of the videos and stuff have been helping them a lot, and they've been very appreciative, so I don't see why that wouldn't be a thing. But I haven't talked to them about that yet.
Wait. What is this here? I asked because tracking worked well, but gimbal was off a bit, but great exchange. Do you have are you testing a Skydio? Because that's making me wonder the way that question was.
I think maybe he's saying that there's a few times where the drone was tracking me, but maybe the gimbal wasn't quite so it's tracking me, but maybe I was in the lowest portion of the frame, and if the gimbal would have tilted down, I would have been more centered. I don't know if you'd be able to control that, but I don't see why there wouldn't be a way to. I just don't know if they've thought about that yet.
That's where that framing feature would be great. If they
exactly. And also, like I said, after the last update that I just got on Sunday, the tracking seems to be a lot quicker, and I think it's just going to continue to get better and better. And I've been mailing them in my logs, the video and the log card, so that they can kind of learn from everything. So,
well, I think I know that two of us here have ordered and are watching emails every day. So
yeah, they're starting to get ready to ship, and I think that they're still hoping to get some out next month. So,
and there's the magic because that's the time my wife will grab the phone on the second ring.
Hey, one quick question on the way out the door, Kyle. We got when we pre-ordered our Skydios back in, I guess, was the beginning of October. They set a November launch date or whatever, and of course, as you know, it's the 20th already today, so most of November is gone. So we're probably not going to get them in November. For the reason for the slight delay, I will call it slight delays. But do you think it's because they think the drone needs more work as far as firmware, or do you think it's a production problem? And I know you don't really know this. I'm just asking you to speculate.
Yeah,
he's already told us.
Speculating, I would think that it probably needs one or two more updates to be consumer ready, to be fully, sign off on it. Like anyone can have a blast with this and not wreck it or do anything crazy. I think that it needs one or two more updates, but I've been getting about one update per week.
But remember what he told us? Remember what he told us? Don't use the controller on film. So that right there tells you that the controller's not quite done. They got to cook it for another week or two. If they're going to come out with the drone, they got to have all that stuff ready for us to order.
Yeah,
our credit cards are going to whip it out, right? Everybody's going to be like.
Well, I'm planning. It's kind of in the works right now, but I'm going to be going down to California in about 2 weeks, and I'm hoping to stop by and do a little tour of their office with them too. So I'll try to do a video of that, and that way, maybe if you guys could throw a bunch of questions, I could do a Q&A with the guys there.
Well, that's everybody here is fantastically grateful that you came in. We're going to send you questions, emails, and everything. As I said before, I know that you'll be getting emails from the Grumpy Vlogger and from Ron Brown about getting you onto a future show.
Cool.
And if you need to take off, good sir, then we will let you bid adieu. And,
thank you.
And we're grateful for having you on. Would love to have you on again sometime and maybe catch up. And maybe Ron and I will have them by then and we can compare notes.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I think the coolest thing that's going to happen is once they go out to the public and they just get all of this data coming back, that's when it's really going to start to evolve quickly. Because right now I think there's only a handful of people that have them and are doing stuff with them. And some of the videos and logs I've sent them, they're like, oh, we haven't seen that yet. So it's good that we're still finding new situations every day.
But now you just scared me again because it says, when we get more out there and they all start sharing and collecting data like a hive mind, then we'll see the awakening of Skynet. Okay.
Totally. No, I think that they're far off. They're pretty far off from being a fully AI drone, but for doing obstacle avoidance and being able to kind of figure its way out down a trail is pretty awesome. But I mean, it still doesn't know that I'm about to take a turn. So,
well, the thing I thought was really cool was my family and I are planning on trying to go to the Philippines next year. And I was thinking it would be really great to be able to, turn it loose and where I'm spending time with them and maybe getting some scenic shots while here I am with the family and stuff. Yeah. And I won't have to be looking at the controller going, okay, everybody smile. Yeah, totally. Smile, and that type of thing. So I was thinking it would be great for a family type drone. A lot of people don't realize it, but for larger families and bigger events, it's fantastic for that. You can get so many things going on.
And also, just like, so you guys know too, the first time I'd ever flown and piloted a drone was when I had my hands on this in October at the Outer Bike demo event. And so I basically told the guys that I knew what I was doing and asked if I could bring it out for a ride. and they're like, yeah, for sure, go for it. And then I was like trying to figure out and troubleshoot while I'm out there on the trail. So it's pretty user friendly for sure.
Nice.
Well, okay. Do you need to take off then?
Yeah, I do. But thank you guys so much.
And I'm very grateful to you.
Kyle.
I will tell you what, you can just tell everybody something and tell them what's breaking on your channel, and then you can say goodbye and drop out, and it'll pop back to us.
Cool. Yeah, no, I'd be stoked if you guys could help me just grow the channel a little bit. That'd be awesome. And if you have any feedback or criticism or anything, I'm always open. I'm just trying to learn and get better at this. So I appreciate all the kind words and everything. It's been cool to see you guys interested in the video. So thank you all, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.
Good
Cool.
night.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Oh, that was very, very cool, and I'm glad to have had him on tonight. Okay, now we got roundtable thoughts. Gentlemen, what are your words and ideas on the Skydio 2?
Go ahead,
Wow.
Steve.
Me? Yeah, I mean, well, I've watched a few of his videos now, and is my audio okay, guys?
You're already
Yeah, it's
great.
fine.
Good. Oh, okay. I've watched a couple of his videos now. First one I watched was when he was really taking it through the dense bush, and it didn't do a good job of getting through quickly, but the fact that it got through was actually, I think, pretty amazing. And the last video I watched, he was on, I think that trail, I think it was trail number 4 in Boise, Idaho, and he's whipping down at 20, 22 miles an hour, and this thing is just sailing along with him, and that was like, jaw dropping. That was pretty incredible to think that this thing can track him like that. So, I do think it's really cool, but I wonder if it's kind of a niche kind of drone for the guys that do that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on that. Well, my first thought will be that as much as I want the Skydio in my hands, we all want it that way. But I mean, if I don't want it until it's fully cooked. I don't want them to release a product until it's fully done. So if it's a week late, month late, just when I get it, it will work properly. But back to what Steve said, again, all just pure speculation. But it sounds like the camera is good enough on this thing to be a standalone photography, video drone, like he was saying, just a little bit, below the Mavic 2, but maybe above or around what comes right after that. So even if you didn't do this amazing bicycle work, if you just took it out as a photography drone, it still sounds like it's worth the $999. Like if it was as good as a photography drone as the Autel Evo, and you had all these extra features where it did all this obstacle avoidance stuff, that's just a win-win, right?
Yeah, but
the folding part.
Yeah, the folding part's a real downer, actually, to me.
Camera aside, are there many drone pilots that are good enough to fly with a guy like that and capture like awesome footage?
Right.
Like that, if the camera's like, 80% of what the Mavic is, like, who cares if it can capture this kind of stuff that other people just can't get because they don't have the skill to pilot it. Right.
Mhm.
So
Right.
That's pretty impressive. Like Kyle said, he's never flown a drone before. He took it out for the first time because I said, I got this, and proof, he's capturing some pretty amazing stuff without having any piloting experience.
Something that I'm thinking that people aren't realizing is, yes, but you're given an extra set of eyes. So if you're flying a drone and you're paying attention to your screen, let's say it's a kid's soccer game and you're out on the edge, and you're flying along. And and all of a sudden you just stop, and it stops, and it's your Mavic 2 because it stopped because of obstacle avoidance, and you're just but you're using this drone, and because it's got the extra eyes that you don't have on the Mavic 2, it continues on but it raises up and compensates with the gimbal and stuff as it's flying along, and you don't have to do that, and it's going to avoid those people to where you don't have the issue like you would with the Mavic 2. But the thing I thought was really cool that he said was that the two complement each other, that one doesn't outdo the other in specific areas, that each one has its strong points that the other one doesn't have.
Yeah.
One thing I came across a video that highlighted a aspect of the Skydio that I had not initially thought of because, I've thought this drone was geared towards like action sports, live tracking, that kind of stuff. But these guys were using it to do like pullback shots through the woods without having, obviously you can't see what's behind you. And it was automatically dodging trees and stuff while it was flying backwards. And I thought that would be a great feature to have. I could think of tons of applications where I would use that. Now, I was also thought to myself, now the Mavic 2 has APAS, and when you're doing shots like that, you're not moving fast. So I was curious to see. I'd like to see somebody test that if the APAS would work in a similar fashion. I
mean, Marcus did a video recently where he put the APAS through its through the paces with the Mavic 2 zoom, and he did a lot of cool stuff with it, which I've never tried before. But I think the key you said is the speed. I mean, the Mavic 2 Pro do a lot of good obstacle avoidance, but not at a thrilling breakneck speed that you would want for some of these pullback shots.
Right. Well, I was thinking if you're doing like a pullback reveal shot, say like of a waterfall or something like that, you're not going to be moving fast. But, the other side of it, if you're tracking a mountain biker or you're tracking a car through the woods, then you're going to be moving fast.
Correct.
So I was curious to see for those cinematic shots, it's you might have the best of both worlds with a Skydio drone.
I believe you could be right.
Yeah, and the raw footage from what I've gathered, what I've been able to get my hands on, the raw footage from that drone really reminds me a lot of what the Evo camera looks like, which is awesome. It's a phenomenal camera.
I know the Skydio claims like seven stops of dynamic range, which is pretty impressive. And I don't know if you follow the guy. Maybe Bill knows the channel name. This guy rides a motorcycle in the Southwest or whatever. He is a Skydio. He's been putting videos out. All the way back to the beginning of October. He's a ton of videos out, and every once in a while he'll get the control out and he'll make a little cinematic video like a sunset or something, and it sure looks impressive when he tacks that on at the end of one of his videos where it's following him all over the trails on the motorcycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, that's the thing. They knew that like people are saying that it's kind of a niche type drone, but the thing about it is that's the only people they've given it to thus far. Cinematic people really haven't gotten a hold of it yet to see what they can and can't do with it, both in the controller and the app itself and in post-production. So we don't know for sure what all is going to be done with this little drone yet.
Yeah, that's a great point, Bill, because you put it in the hands of somebody who has the photography or videography skill and post-production skill, and they could get a lot more out of it than just, the mountain biker guy, or the motorcycle guy, right? So, yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, he's sitting here telling us that it's shooting 1080 at 120 and it's shooting 4K at 60. That's, that's not nothing to sneeze at exactly. So depending upon, unless the actual sensor itself is just poo, then you've got a lot in there. I mean, and what's the transfer rate? I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I don't know either, but you're guessing it's got to be 100 bit, right?
100 megabits.
I think it was 100 megabits per second.
So we've got a ton of data just shoved in there. So it's going to be they're going to have to really come up with a way to mess up, I'm thinking.
I mean, they're all good. I mean, you can pixel peep anything and find flaws in it, right? So, if people are pixel peeping your work, maybe you got to work on what you're shooting,
or work on your customers.
Exactly.
I think from what I've seen, the raw footage I've been able to get my hands on, the camera's great. I mean, granted, it's not as good as the Mavic 2 Pro, but it's definitely very good. It's definitely, if you like the Evo or like anything that comes out of the Mavic 2 Zoom, you're going to be happy with it.
See, and that's interesting that you say that too, because there's a lot of people out there who don't have a drone who are looking at all the options and they're like, well, can this be my only drone? And at first, when all the mountain biking and stuff came out, I kind of thought, that this thing's just going to be niche. It's really only for those kinds of people. But if this can really be the, jack of all trades, it's going to be a big deal.
Yep. I
It looks
really
like
was.
it looks like it can be.
Yeah. I was very impressed by like them doing some cinematic shots and not having to worry about, watching where you're backing into. I thought that was really great.
That's what I said. So you've got an extra set of eyes that you don't
Yeah.
have on the other drones. I mean, you've got the sensors, but they're not, it seems like you've got a little bit more of coverage and area with this drone. So it's kind of a fail safe in a cinematic format.
I know for me personally, everybody's got their reasons for getting their particular drone. If they had made this thing folding, I would have scooped it up in a heartbeat. But, I understand for, cost and production and, their visual system, they probably didn't do that right out of the gates. The second one probably will. But, yeah, I think it's great.
Well, and like you said that the price point was going to be like 17 almost. Yeah, but I guess something that tells me it was going to be like 2 batteries, the beacon and the controller.
Yeah, the whole package, what I would assume.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that's what it comes is somewhere in that price range. Okay, so it's coming around to the top of the hour. Just want to check with anyone. Does anyone need to take off, or do you want to continue this great chat?
I'm going to take off. I'm a little under the weather this week, so I'm going to hit the bed early.
He's all wrapped up and double wrapped and everything. I wanted to give everybody a quick shout out. We're still going to do our show next Wednesday. I know some people might have Turkey Day and plans. As Ethan's going out of town, he won't be with us next week, so we will be thinking about him as he is getting ready to gobble down some turkey. And we're going to have a Black Friday, Cyber Monday / Thanksgiving celebration. But if anybody's got any information about Black Friday sales other than the DJI stuff, could you please let me know, because we can't even find any this year. So anybody else besides Ethan got to take off? Anybody? Good. Then I'm going to let Ethan say his good evenings and his holiday wishes, and we'll let you come back after the holidays. Ethan.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming out. It was great chatting with Kyle, and I'm really glad to have Steve back with us. And with that, everybody have a great holiday and stay safe. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Get well.
Take care, Ethan.
Feel better. Feel better.
Yeah,
Thank you,
feel better, man.
Thank you for coming in under the weather, sir.
All right. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Ethan.
Well, now can we move on to the toy drone portion of the show? I watched John's review of the Armcrest. Am I saying it right?
It's the Amcrest. Yeah. And oh my goodness.
Sorry.
All right.
No. I'm talking about. I'm shaking my head because the Amcrest was just so bad.
And it's the first time I've ever heard it. I know it was painful for John to explain it, but it's the first time I ever heard of a drone where you had to start the drone and camera up and let it warm up. Before you
yes.
I mean, I'm thinking, warm up. Is this my first car from 1976 where I had to let it warm up before I could take off? I've never heard anything like that before.
Yeah, they want you to wait 30 seconds for the camera to initialize, and it's like, wow. And then I get out to the field, I do that exactly, and I still end up with no micro SD card footage. And then come to find out, the drone just hates SanDisk, and I was so mad. And this is why it reminded me why I've stopped going near a lot of the toys out there, because they've just gone to hell. The toy grade market is just doing so bad. And now with the Mavic Mini out there, the prices of this stuff come down. So some of these toys, man, they're just not even worth spending your money on. You
could use your SanDisk card in here. The funniest thing is you said it wouldn't take SanDisk card. Almost every drone recommends SanDisk card. So you get the only drone that doesn't want a SanDisk card or whatever.
It won't take any of them. It won't take my 64. It won't take any of my 32s. And these are the gold ones. These are the good ones, that we use in all our drones. And it's not the format. I checked that. I made sure they were the same format. But it'll take the crappy PNY card. Oh, I don't have it on me sitting here. But it'll take the crappy PNY card that sits in my Fat Shark goggles. How about that? Speaking of that, real quick, my good friend Dan Nye, just a quick shout out today. I got this in the mail from him. It's sort of like a little unboxing here. This is a Menace patch antenna, and this is going to go right on my goggles here. You see this big old crosshair? I'm so happy to get rid of this because it doesn't even fit in my backpack. So I'm going to do this live. I'm going to actually put this little patch antenna on here live. Drone Pool, thank you so much for this. I really, really appreciate it. And we're installing it here live on drone therapy. I wanted to bring this up since the show started, but we had to let Kyle tell us all about the Skydio. There we go.
Nice.
Look at that. Isn't that so nice? I've got rid of this big wart that was sitting on my FPV goggles. Now, just so you guys know, this has a 10 dB gain, I believe. Yeah, this is a 10 dB gain.
Okay.
This is a 9.5. Okay. So okay, I'm getting 0.5 dB less with this one, but for the convenience of not having to take the thing on and off, I'm so happy with this. Thank you so much, Drone Pool. I'll probably do a quick review of it as well, shouting him out. But yeah. Just a little announcement from me on that one. Drone Pool is such a good
channel. If you're not already subbed to it, he does everything. He's got a Xeno now. He does all the FPV racing stuff. He's got a great channel over there.
Okay, so speaking on that subject, I want since you two are here and both of you have Mavic Minis, I want you to tell me straight up how a Mavic Mini compares to the Spark.
Yes,
Ron.
Well, I mean, I gave you a preview before. It's not as fast as Spark, and that's about, I guess, the only downside I can say. It's probably better than the Spark, and in every other way, except it doesn't have the camera controls. And I'm going to do a comparison video where I compare it. I still have my Spark around here. Like on the camera settings, you can't do panoramics, you can't do 3 bracketed exposures or 5 bracket exposures. All the basic settings you get on most camera drones and most cell phones and most any type of cameras nowadays aren't on here. This is definitely more of a point and shoot now. People don't, but you can change exposure even on video. I was able to change exposure and lock exposure on video, and it's a few more things you could do on the camera. But and I think they may improve it with a firmware update. You hear them say that, but also they may just keep it simple because this is meant for somebody who's first drone, who just wants to shoot and post it directly to social media. They don't want to go into Lightroom and Final Cut Pro. So that may be the thinking on that too. But outside of that, and that's about the only down. The speed, I'm making just a joke with the speed. It's just 3 or 4 miles per hour slower. But in every other way, I think it's better, than the Spark outside those camera settings. But I will do a video and picture comparison head to head at some point, flying the same place, same lighting and whatever. So I'm going to throw it over to Chris to let him.
You mean Steve?
Steve,
the builder.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, I just pulled it out of the box today, and I just took it out for 3 flights, and like right away, it's just the feel of it is so much different. I mean, I've only had the Spark, so that's my only frame of reference, but the feel of it is it just feels like a higher level drone, even though it's so inexpensive. Like, it's just smooth and precise, and like what Ron was saying, it doesn't have manual controls, but you can set the exposure compensation and you can lock the exposure. And those are 2 really handy tools that are sitting right in the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm tapping those all the time. I'm adjusting the exposure how I like it. I lock it down, and, I get what I need. I think my only minor complaint right out of the gate is you can't set the white balance. So it's always on auto white balance. I think if they're going to make one firmware update, they need to do that. Like, let me set a white balance. Shutter speed and all that sort of stuff. Like, most people aren't really going to care. Like, especially where this is targeted. This is targeted for the beginners. It's a fantastic drone. Like, I really like it. I think it's amazing.
What baffles me a little bit, Steve, is you can't set your white balance, but yet it has a histogram. Usually you don't get a histogram on a low end drone, but this doesn't have the white balance setting, which is very common. I mean, Bill, I'll tell you this: as far as taking away, you've flown more than me, Steve. I've only flown twice. I've flown it two times, 2 days, and each time. But on my second flight, I threw it like 3,500 yards down a beach, right? And, usually with a small drone, I'm afraid to get them things too far from me. I flew this thing down with total confidence. It was like 3,500 yards down on the beach. It was like, like half hour before dark. I didn't even think about it. It was just like I was flying my Phantom down there or something like that. That's how confidence you have in this almost right away.
I've got a question for both of you about the Mavic. Why am I in full? I didn't need to be in full for this one. I got a question for both of you about the Mavic Mini, because so many people look at it, and I don't know why, but they look at it and they're like, "That looks like it's gonna feel cheap." What are you guys' first impressions when you took it out of the box? Did it feel cheap to you? Does it feel like a quality? Does it feel solid?
Well, I'll jump first. It doesn't feel as quality as the Spark did. The build quality feels better than Spark, but it doesn't bother me because I'm used to this. It's very similar to the Parrot Anafi, which everybody knocked too for the poor build quality. But I've had the Anafi for like more than 6 months now, and I have no problem. The propellers are, I wish I had the Anafi sitting here, are almost exactly like the Anafi propellers. They go on the same, they feel the same, they're the same size. Again, the build quality feels very similar to the Anafi, which some people may call that cheap, but I may call that lightweight. And another thing it has in common with the Anafi, I think it's the quietest. The only Anafi is quieter than this drone. If that makes any difference to you. And I'll throw it over to Steve.
Yeah, it is not built like the Spark, but the Spark is an absolute tank. Like I've had some pretty spectacular crashes, and that thing just keeps on trucking. So, like Ron says, it's light, and to get under that 250 grams, you got to make it. You got to cut back some weight. So obviously, it's probably harder plastic, but just thinner. I mean, it doesn't feel as robust. Even the back latch, where you're sticking the battery in, it's kind of like, hey, is this going to break over time? But I mean, I guess we'll find out. But I don't. It's by no means cheap. Like it's good DJI build quality. Like it is a quality piece of equipment, right? It's light.
Okay, so Ron Brown, you've played with lots of toys compared to some of the toys that you've taken out of the box. I'm guessing the Mavic Mini still. Oh my! Look at that cat fluff that just went across my thing. I'm sure that the Mavic Mini's plastic feel has got to be better than, say, even like an Amcrest toy or a Snaptane toy, right?
The SP500.
SP500.
That I
example.
have to, or whatever. Yeah. It definitely feels more premium. It's in a different league than that, but I mean, this is actually the Mavic Pro 1, but I mean, it's still a world's difference or whatever between these two, even though this is a couple steps higher than the Snaptane 500. I mean, this is still like, this is the tank,
Mavic
Pro 1 or whatever, I mean, still this Mavic Pro 1 came out in the fall of 2016. And even though, I love this little mini, but I mean, it's still no comparison. This 3-year-old, drone is still by far the superior drone, But what impresses me, I think I mentioned before, is the enhanced Wi-Fi in this thing is better than any enhanced Wi-Fi drone I've ever seen. Enhanced Wi-Fi has got a bad name. People have been turned down. I don't like Wi-Fi drones. Blah blah blah. People hate Wi-Fi drones. Well, let them fly this one or whatever. Billy Kyle did that test where he got it out almost as far as his Mavic 2 Pro in the city along the river.
Yeah, I agree with you. DJI too is always trying to improve the Wi-Fi technology that they use on their products, so that doesn't come as any surprise. But hey, Wi-Fi does get a bad rap because, there's been a lot of crappy Wi-Fi over the years, especially if you start with a toy too. I mean, you think, oh, Wi-Fi, no, I don't want that. So that speaks more to just the general reputation of Wi-Fi than anything else.
Yeah,
but good to hear about the build quality though, because I mean, it's actually not something that bothers me, but there just seems to be a number of people out there that are just like, oh, that looks like a toy. That doesn't look like that shiny DJI thing. It doesn't look that shiny DJI thing that I'm used to.
In fact, you can't have everything. Do you want 249 grams or do you want build quality? You can't get everything all in one drone or whatever. So you choose. If you're the type of person, you could care less whether you had to register it, you could care less whether you put your sticker on it, then that's one point you take away from this. But if you value that hard build quality, whatever, again, you just can't have everything. So if you want 249 grams, you're going to get this field drone.
Yep.
Now, Steve, for you, right? This is a big deal. This drone is a much bigger deal for Canadians actually than Americans, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. At 249 grams, none of the rules apply. Like technically, this is not covered by any of those rules. So I wouldn't have to be a certified pilot. I don't have to write a test. I don't have to keep maintenance logs, flight logs. You can, as long as you're not endangering people or aircraft, you can pretty much fly anywhere.
Okay, something I want to ask real quick that Chris Hope just brought up. How many times have you flown your Mavic Mini, Ron, and about how long has each flight lasted?
Well, Chris, he has admitted he's done a great job with the Mini. He's got a lot of videos up. He's got some cinematic videos, but I'm the world's worst person at flight tests or whatever. I've flown it twice, and I know I've gotten over 20 minutes, but I can't tell you if it was 21, 25, 29. And I never do that full video recording, whatever, so I can't even look back on that. So, I'm not good for telling you, but it flies a lot longer than you think it would. But so maybe someday I'll have to do an accurate flight time. But I know, Chris has got some amazing flights.
Well, the fact that you said for sure that it's over 20 minutes is going to be intriguing to a lot of people that flew the Spark, because it was anywhere from 13 to 16 minutes, and then it was hit and miss.
Yeah. But Bill, I tell you what, here's how good it is. When you're flying a thing near the end of the flight, you're just looking, will this thing just run out so I can bring it down? You know what I mean? It's flying too long because, I mean, John, you know me. When I go out, I got a whole car full of drones, so I just want to get it down and get the next drone out or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm really a one drone flyer, so this thing's flying so long, I want to get it down and get the next drone out the front of the car and get its flight going.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And I would agree with that, Ron. I wasn't timing it today. I was just out there having fun and just checking it out, and definitely I could tell this is going a lot longer than the Spark. And we're in the midst of full-on winter here, so there's snow on the ground, and I think it was like -2 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but yeah, it was chilly, and it was just staying up there forever. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Steve. Did you feel the cold weather affected it at all in flight, or?
I don't think so. Like I mean, I shouldn't 100% say that, because really I was just judging by my Spark, and it's flying longer than my Spark. And basically I would just put this thing up in the air and I start the video, and the video was going pretty much on and off for the duration of flight. I'm continuously shooting video, but I'll stop and start it. Yeah. So like I'm working it hard, and it's staying out there for a long time.
Hey, here's something I can tell you that surprised me. So I flew yesterday in about 50-degree weather with low wind. So it wasn't, it wasn't warm, but it wasn't real cold. When I landed it right after flying over 20 minutes, it could have been close to 30. I went and picked it up right away to turn it off, because you have to turn it off on the bottom there. And it wasn't warm at all. You know what I mean? If you pick the Mavic up after you've flown for whatever, 20, 25 minutes, it's a little warm. You don't really grab it. You just kind of like, you don't have to touch the bottom. But this thing, it wasn't even warm after that long flight. And even, fighting a little bit of wind down at the beach, not even warm to the touch whatsoever. And it doesn't have a smart battery, but it is a smart battery once you have it in the thing. Then you could press the button and see your battery level. So, it's a half a smart battery once you have it in the drone. Outside the drone, it's a dumb battery.
Yeah. So back to one of your original points about the histogram, I did find that kind of odd going into the advanced camera settings, and there's the histogram and all these grid lines you can stick on your screen, but you don't have white balance setting, because histogram is a pretty advanced, kind of photography or videography setting. So yeah, that is kind of an oddball thing. And also to your point, Ron, about the noise, it's so much quieter than the Spark. Like, wow,
like a little whine to it or whatever. And
I first unboxed it, I took it up in my house, and I'm flying around, and the dog was like, okay, this is bad, but not too bad, But first impressions, I'm really delighted. And, I hope I didn't say the wrong thing originally, but it's like, it is very well built. It is a good quality drone. It's light, so the materials are light. So they kind of have that, maybe cheaper feel, but it is not a cheap drone, like build wise. The quality is very good.
Let me make kind of a comparison. This is kind of a way off comparison here, but back in the 70s and 80s, people thought like a big Cadillac or some kind of big Ford LTD was safer car, because it was, it was built real heavy and solid, and the steel was real thick. and cars like the Honda Accord and the Toyota Camry, they weren't as safe because the metal and stuff wasn't thick. But actually, when they did the crash tests or whatever, those cars were actually safer than the big metal behemoths or whatever. So just because something's real thick or whatever doesn't actually mean it's going to withstand a crash any better. In fact, I mean, I'm no don't know enough about aerodynamics, but if because it's lighter weight and it probably won't be flying much of force. So if it hit a tree or something like that, it may not do as much damage as a heavier drone because it's not creating as much force going into the solid object. I may be all wrong on my calculation.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment too. And I also like the way the gimbal is nicely recessed under here, right? So it just affords it a little bit more protection too. You don't have anything kind of dangling down or, it's just kind of hidden back there. Give it a little bit more protection when you're up there zooming around.
Yeah. I mean, is this the perfect drone for, I guess, everybody? Maybe not. But if you don't have a drone at all, or all you have is a toy drone, if all you have is the AM Crest, then this is a great drone. And if you already do own like a Mavic 2 Pro, and that's your only drone, you want to get something a little more, that you can just more of a park flyer or something you can have some fun with. This may be a great second drone for somebody that only owns like a Mavic 2 Pro. I mean, that's two great scenarios for why you would get this drone, because it's basically for a beginner. There's almost no cons at all. And to somebody that already has a more capable drone like a Mavic 2, and I hate to keep saying the Mavic 2, Autel Evo, any of the top end drones, you already have all those other features that you want in that drone, so you don't necessarily need this one. This still could be, like you mentioned earlier, Steve. I mean, you could, if you're a man of my size, you could easily stick in the cargo pockets of your pants. And since the controller, since the sticks come off, this could be stuck in the other cargo pants. So you go out, no case, no nothing, just your cargo pants. And if you're at the park and you see something interesting, let me get the little mini out and put it up in the air. And we talked about it being an important counter for the weight in the U.S. I mean, the only advantage in the U.S. is basically you don't have to have that number on the drone or whatever, because you still have to follow all the rules. You don't have to register. You don't have to have that number on drone. But for people like me that already have a closet full of drones, I'm already registered anyways. So that's I paid my $5 already, so that's nothing for me. Just
exactly. Just wait. Well, like I've told people before, I think that drones are going to be this size eventually.
Yeah, they can handle a lot of wind, eh?
All right, go ahead, Steve.
What? Honestly, you know what the best drone is? The best drone is the one that fits your budget and that actually gets you off the couch out flying. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yep.
Right. Because a lot of guys, I know people who have bought very expensive drones and they sit on the shelf.
Yeah, you're right, man.
And I took my Spark, and we did a lot of stuff, right? So, whatever gets you out there, that's your drone.
Okay, something else I wanted to ask Ron. What do you think the Xeno footage does comparatively to the Mavic Mini footage?
Well, I know that, of course, the Xeno has the 4K footage, and this only has 2.7K. But I don't know if you've seen a video I put up. The first time I shot it, my first video, which kind of was a little bit of everything, I threw a little footage at the end. But I took that footage in the second video and put it in Final Cut Pro and did kind of a color grade to it. And this is only based on one time. I think it color graded a little bit better than the video coming out of the Xeno, just slightly though. I think I could push the colors, the contrast, the exposure. I think I could push them a little bit further without it breaking up than the Xeno. But again, that's only off of one edit, and I'm no Ethan Mitchell when it comes to editing. So you take what I just said with a grain of thought, because that's based on one editing session. I caught this great sunset, so I had something good to work with. I got a question for Steve, and you probably haven't tried it yet either. But like the Spark, can you just plug that USB into your computer and transfer the data over directly?
You can. I never do it that way though. I always pull my card.
But you think you could do it on the Mini also, just like you can on the Spark?
Yeah, I would imagine probably. Yeah. I would think they would try to make it simple for people, right? So
yeah, I mean, Spark has that. Nobody's mentioned it yet, and I haven't got a chance to try it. I could try that out. The Anafi has that where you could just put it, right into the the computer. You don't have to take the card out. Now it goes slower, grant you, but I mean, I'm not a professional, videographer. It doesn't matter to me if it takes 5-10 minutes. I just go get a coffee while it's uploading.
Yeah.
But,
I just always like pulling the physical card and line them up and just copy them over one by one. I rarely would ever plug into a camera or drone and pull the footage right from it. And like you say, it is a bit slower when you do it that way.
A lot slower, but yeah. I mean, I hate to say I don't really have a system. Every time I do, it's different or whatever. If I could plug the drone in, sometimes I do it just for the convenience of not have to look for the little memory card adapter or whatever, and I have one of these iMacs that I got to reach behind and stick the card in the back,
Yeah.
So, but no, Bill, if these things, I can't imagine them going on sale for Black Friday because they're probably selling off the shelves anyways. But if you could get a few dollars off on Black Friday, either the Flymore or the standard kit. Now, I believe Steve's been talking. He has the Flymore kit. I was probably the only dummy who didn't order the Flymore kit. I mean, I'm one of these people, again, I got too many darn drones or whatever. I don't need 3 or 4 batteries for a drone, especially not my main drone or whatever, because I just fly something else. But I mean, you get such long battery life, and you could, if you're flying different spots, you could kind of, juice up in the car a little bit between spots. But even if said for $400, it's a good buy either way. But all that extra stuff for the Flymore kit, I should have did it. But oh well, I'll spend that extra money on the Skydio accessories.
No, the Mavic Mini doesn't have internal memory.
You know what? I don't disregard that. But when I was flying yesterday, and I put a new memory card in because I just threw any old memory card in for the first flight. I got a real nice SanDisk down, and a real nice SanDisk Extreme for this one. It asked me if I wanted to. It's in front of my face and on the phone. It's asked, did you want to use the memory card or internal memory? And I said, wow, wait a minute. This doesn't have internal memory. But the app asked me now. I mean, the app's probably just popped that up by mistake. But the app was asking me if I wanted to use internal memory of the SD card. And I thought, what? But the Spark doesn't have internal memory. And you could transfer the video over from the Spark.
Mm-hmm.
Nafi doesn't have internal memory, and it can transfer over directly from the computer. So it doesn't have to have a built-in, whatever hard drive like the Mavic 2 to do that.
Well, it has internal memory when you put an SD card in it.
Well, it does, yeah. I don't have the Mavic 2 sitting here, but I guess the Mavic 2 has double internal memory then when it has the card and the little drive that's inside of it.
Okay, for anybody that was wanting a Mavic Mini, Marcus was the one we were talking back and forth in Messenger earlier, and he pointed out to me that most of the Apple stores are actually starting to stock the Mavic Mini. So you can actually, like our local store, you can get it by tomorrow. If I'd ordered it today, I'd have had it tomorrow. I could have went and picked it up 10 miles down the road at the local mall in the Apple store. So it looks like all the stores are going to have them by like mid-December on the shelves.
I believe
it's in time for Christmas.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit chaotic, but this is something else. I just found out that I have my 3-year anniversary with Best Buy and being one of their card holders, and they gave me a little coupon that said, do you want 10% off any major purchase between now and December 18th? And
yes.
I'm like, yes, exactly. I'm sitting here going, oh, yeah, so I can get it for even $50 cheaper? Oh, for sure.
And I'll tell you one thing, too. Tonight, just before the show, I had my wife just zoom the Mini around the house and put the prop guards on. And I'll tell you, that thing, you cannot knock it out of the air. Like, I'm bouncing around with my hand, and it's like, it's fighting you. Like, it's really robust at staying in the air. My Spark, I mean, I've crashed it in the house with the prop guards on, no problem. But this thing is like doing. You just bounce it and no problem.
Oh, very
really robust. I don't know if you've tried that, Ron, but
I didn't get the Flymore, so I don't have the prop guards.
Oh, that's right. So sorry.
But you were talking about how much more stable it seems. So is that the thing? Is it more stable than the Spark?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they've improved the vision sensor on it or just the IMU, or I don't know. It just it fights you. This I'm pretty sure if I did that to my Spark, it would just be down. But yeah, and the only reason I tried that is because I was at they had a DJI Mavic Mini experience on the weekend. That's how I was able to get my Mini early. And that's what they were doing. The guys in the store were just like, they zoomed it up there and they're like doing, and they're bouncing into the walls and the thing just would not go down. So I gave it a try tonight and it's like, yeah, wow. It just like is really good at staying in the air.
See, that's the other thing. My kids, my boys, especially the younger boy, he's interested in stuff like this. He's into the RC trucks. He likes the drones and stuff. But I've kind of given him the little drones that aren't so. I may have to, if I go ahead and get something like this, I may give him the Xeno or let the boys try the Mavic Mini for a little while or something to see if they get into it or what. Oh, let's see. Sunshine Cooper, hi Ron Brown, and it's a big hello from the Philippines. I would say "Como staka," I guess would be cool. So glad to have you in the house. I can see John has taken off for a moment. Has anybody got any closing notes or anything else they would like to cover before we wind it up for the evening? Anything?
I just mentioned that John's friend Ryan Duvall has done a nice series of reviews on the Mavic Mini, and I believe it's Ryan's first DJI drone. And he's another one. It's all positive. He's has some very good testing experience with it, and I was glad to see him get it on the channel.
Yeah, I'm very happy, and he seems almost a little fanboyish. Almost,
Ooh.
I guess you would say he seems very, very impressed with the tech and everything. So I think he's more apathetic towards us fanboys. I almost feel like I've been a little disloyal by not immediately running out and purchasing the Mavic Mini like a good little fanboy should. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do that here in the next few weeks if I get the discount.
We talked about this before. You really, if you have a lot of drones like Bill and I do, or whatever, you really have to. You keep thinking, why do I need this or whatever? That's the question. Do I really need this drone? And I almost didn't get it. I was only because everybody else was getting. I got it. But now I'm glad I do have it though. That being said, I'm glad I have it now.
Well, see, the thing I guess is the true point is it's obviously an upgrade from the things that we've had before. You all were talking about how stable it is, how it holds position so well. Even in a high wind, it doesn't get banged around and kicked around. You've got that third axis on the gimbal to give you much more stable footage. You've got even 2.7K video. I'm not sure, have they, what's the deal with the photos? Do you get 4K photos or are they maxed out at 2.7? What size of the
12 megapixel,
Yeah.
like 3,000 by 4,000 pixels or something. So
yeah, I don't know if
it's a Spark roughly.
I don't know if it uses the full, whatever. Obviously, it has a 4K sensor in there. I don't know if it uses, all the 4K sensor in the phone. That's a good question. I'll look the specs up and see.
Well, it sounds like Steve was saying is that basically it shoots 4K photos just like the Spark did. So they make full use of the sensor for photography, but not for the video part, which would probably heat the sensor up anyway. So
yeah,
the guy when I was in the DJI Mavic Mini experience on the weekend, the guy was telling me he's just the owner of the store. He was telling me they actually tested 4K in this drone and they pulled it back because it was sucking up too much battery life. I don't know if that's true because I think a lot of people would take less battery life for 4K.
Yeah, especially if we've got 30 minutes already.
Yeah, if it was 18 minutes instead of 30, would you take it for 4K video? Probably.
Sure.
I would like to have the option in the software where I want the flight time or the 4K. Whatever.
But like you said, would you buy any other drone in DJI's arsenal if it had 4K?
Well, that's true. Like I just my experience today, I'm like, this is a fantastic flying drone. It's very fun. It's quick. It's nimble, precise. If this thing had 4K and a few other features, you wouldn't be buying any of those other drones because it'd be just too good. There's always got to be something better up the line, right? So.
Well, see, the thing that here's the thing. If this is sitting out here with 2.7K at $400, and we know pretty good chance that first quarter of 2020, they're going to drop the Mavic 3 Pro. Is it going to have those ion batteries in it, pushing 45, 50 minutes of flight time on one battery with a phenomenal 4K sensor with the full 1-inch sensor open wide up?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, very possible.
they're always going to get better.
Yeah.
Like every iteration will get better. We know that, right? So you buy what you can afford now, whatever meets your needs, and then a couple of years down the road, you get another one. Or if you're like Ron, you just get one every couple of weeks, right, Ron?
That's right, and sell some other ones. Hey, one thing I didn't bring up, and maybe Steve's seen this too. So my first flight out, I only flew it in the P mode. I didn't try any of the modes. So yesterday I tried the sport mode, but I also tried the sit and smooth mode. And that's an important mode on this drone because this drone you cannot, almost every other DJI drone used to go for, you could change the yaw settings, you could slow them down, you could slow the gimbal pitch down, you could slow down everything to make it more cinematic. And this has none of those functions. But if you use the sit and smooth mode, I mean, they would tune really well. Like I was doing a thing where I'm flying along one direction and slowly yawing back, and it was really smooth. The camera pitch down, the gimbal pitch down was really smooth. So I recommend the sit and smooth mode. I mean, it was slow. It was going like 8-9 miles per hour. But I mean, it really replicated almost all the settings that you would dial in a bigger DJI drone for that super smooth footage. So definitely try that out if you have.
Well, that's very cool, and I'm glad to have had everybody on tonight. We've been on for an hour and almost a half now. I'm sure everybody needs to get up and stretch, and I got to go do some things too and say hello to the wife again and say thank you for letting me play in the pancake for an hour or so while things are going on in the background that I should be attending to. So with that, I'm going to pass it around the room and let everybody say their good evenings, and I will start with Steve Coutts.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on the show again. Thanks to our guest, Kyle Warner, and thanks to everybody who visited in the chat room. It was a really good conversation tonight. And thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Ron.
Bill, thank you for having me on tonight. It was a pleasure being on here. I want to thank Kyle for being on with us tonight and getting us up on all the Skydio information that we're dying to learn. And it was, great being on the show with Steve and my good friend John and of course Bill in the king of the drone world. So I want to thank everybody for joining us in chat tonight. And I'm going to be dropping another Mavic Mini 2 video hopefully tonight with a range test and the quick shot test. We're going to test a whole bunch of stuff out. So look for it on just Ron Brown on YouTube, and I'm going to throw it to John to say his good nights.
Thank you, Ron. Guys, this has been great. It was awesome to have Kyle on. I'm so grateful that he came on and talked to us about the Skydio. Steve and Ron, you guys gave us some great info on the DJI Mavic Mini tonight. And yeah, this is just a great show. It was absolutely awesome. I can't wait to do this again.
And I'm very grateful for everyone that showed up in the chat. And Sunshine Cooper, please come back and join us again next week. And feel free to come in anytime and put in your input. We're glad to have people from around the globe. Please tell your friends about not just this channel, but Steve Coutts' channel, John Cuppi's channel, and Ron Brown's channel, and also the great Xeno Nation. And please spread that information around to your friends. Some great stuff tonight. We did find out from Kyle about how big and boisterous a company Skydio is, that they actually have a military contract. They have more than 100 employees, and they're kicking some stuff out. So the little bit of delay that we're experiencing is probably to do with the controller, and it's not quite finished yet. So we've got 1 or 2 more firmware updates from the beta testers, and then they're going to be getting those drones out to us. So probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should be getting those emails. So probably right at Christmas time, seems like that we'll be getting those Skydio 2s around Christmas time. And I'm very grateful to have had Steve on. I'm very grateful to have had Ron back on. It's always great to have you on, Ron. It feels like home when you're here. So maybe we'll try to talk you into coming back more often in the future. With that being said, I want everybody to come back next week. We're going to have our Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday show where we're going to try to find some deals for you. And if we can't, I guess we'll just talk about the great DJI Black Friday deals that they're going to have on some of their stuff. So please come and join us next week here on Drone Therapy. And with that being said, peace.